Good afternoon. Okay, that's a mic check, so let me try it one more time. Good afternoon. There we go, it works. Welcome to the State Bar of Texas annual meeting. I am Steve Benish, President of the State Bar of Texas for one more day, but who's counting, right? I am thrilled to see so many attendees here both right now and at the meeting this year. I know this is going to be a great meeting. It's going to be filled with interesting, continuing legal education and exceptional events beginning with this one. The annual meeting is a great time, an appropriate time for lawyers and judges and law students to come together to celebrate leaders who have made outstanding contributions both to the legal profession and to our communities here in Texas. We have a great speaker today that I know you are all eager to hear from. But before we get to our speaker, we have some presentations for you. So if you would please stand for the invocation and pledges of allegiance, Pledge of Allegiance and Texas Pledge.
Loving God, we give thanks today for the opportunity to gather together amongst colleagues and friends from across the state of Texas for this special occasion. We give thanks for the food, the fellowship, and for all those who have worked to make this event possible. We pray that this food nourishes and strengthens those in attendance to serve you, to serve each other, and to serve our state and nation with joy and gratitude. We thank you for bestowing upon us the gifts and talents that enable us to serve. We ask that you grant us patience and understanding as we work together to further our profession and our communities. In your name we pray. Amen.
Now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the Texas Pledge, honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you.
A couple of fellows that share the last name as me, Will and Austin Benish, my sons. At this time, I would like to invite Leslie Dipple, Chair of the State Bar of Texas Local Bar Services Committee, to present the Local Bar Services Awards. Leslie?
Good afternoon and welcome to the award luncheon of the State Bar of Texas annual meeting. My name is Leslie Dipple, and it is my absolute privilege to chair the Local Bar Services Committee this year. If you know me at all, and looking around the room, I know there's a significant number of you that do. I'm not going to start saying anything until I take a moment to recognize and thank the literally hundreds of people that helped make today possible, whether it was setting all of the tables up out in the ballroom out there, helping everybody check in, the many thousands of employees that work in this hotel, the ones that are circulating here to prepare this meal and to serve us this meal to make it an enjoyable experience. If you see them around, I see them in their turquoise shirts, shoot them a smile and thank them, please, for everything they're doing to make today special. So the Local Bar Services Committee has the privilege of working closely with local bar associations and witnessing the truly remarkable work that they accomplish. The enviable work that they do is to get to watch that and work with them and support them as all the local bar associations continue their work throughout the year. The unenviable work that they have to do is select one individual who has shown commitment, dedication, and loyalty to the bar at all levels of service. This award is named after the late Judge Sam Williams, who served many years as a secretary of the Northeast Texas Bar Association and led his local bar association into a strong association that continues to this day. It is his enthusiasm and professional pride that we recognize and commemorate today and every year. So it is my honor to announce the winner of the 2025 Judge Sam Williams Award, Richard L. Tate of Richmond. Mr. Tate left a large Houston law firm in the 1980s to practice law in Fort Bend County, where he is widely known as a respected lawyer, mentor, and leader whose advice and counsel are sought by elected representatives, judges, and fellow lawyers alike. For many years, Mr. Tate served as chair of the board of the Texas Access to Justice Foundation, small moment, thank you, which offers funds to organizations that provide legal services to families and individuals who cannot afford a lawyer, the very hallmark of the work that the State Bar does. He has made many trips to Austin and Washington, D.C. to encourage lawmakers to provide funds to support legal services for low-income Americans. Not only that, but he also walks his talk, providing countless hours of pro bono and substantially reduced fee services through his own legal practice. Among his other activities, Mr. Tate is a former president of the Fort Bend County Bar Association, a member of the American Board of Trial Advocates, and a big supporter of Lone Star Legal Aid and its mission to provide legal services to the underserved Texans. Mr. Tate, would you please stand and be recognized? And we'll ask you to come forward at the conclusion of today's luncheon to receive your award and have a picture with President Steve Benish. Thank you, Mr. Tate, and for all of you for celebrating his amazing life of work. Local bar. The local bars is where the heart of the Bar Association is. That's where the work happens. That's where we are out into our communities. And one of the things that the Local Bar Services Committee is able to do is to honor local bar associations with awards of merit. This recognizes their overall bar year, including their community service, membership service, publications, and social events. Again, you know I'm going to go off script for a moment, give this a little dipple-dazzle. I have to say that part of one of the joys of working on this committee is I got to read some of these submissions, and I got to read their articles and read about all of the incredible work that the local bars are performing, and they represent you well. It truly was an honor to read the amazing work that they did. So as I read the Award of Merit winners, would you please stand and be recognized? And again, following the program, you'll come back up to the podium, we'll take some pictures, and you'll receive your award from President Benish. The Award of Merit winners for 2025 are Division 1, Jefferson County Bar Association. Division 3, the Tarrant County Bar Association. And Division 4, the Dallas Bar Association. Loud, mighty, and proud. We have many outstanding local bar associations, and we thank them for their exemplary service to their members, the community, and the entire legal justice system. And now I get to also recognize the remarkable local bar executive directors and staff members. All volunteers know that your dedication enables Texas lawyers to better serve their communities and provide access to justice. Will representatives of the local bars being honored today with the Texas Stars of Texas Bar Awards, please stand as you're being named, and again, you'll come back up to the podium at the end of the luncheon to meet President Benish. The recipients of this year's Stars of Texas Bar Awards are the Austin Bar Association, the Dallas Bar Association, the Dallas Women Lawyers Association and J.L. Turner Legal Association, the Denton County Bar Association, the Fort Bend County Bar Association, Jefferson County Bar Association, the San Antonio Bar Association, thank you for your hospitality today, and the Tarrant County Bar Association. So thank you all to these incredible local bar representatives who are present today. Your commitment to the profession, your community, and our judicial system is truly inspiring. It's why we do what we do, and we know that it is a service to your community, to be leaders in your communities, to provide this service to the lawyers that we represent. You represent our profession well. Thank you. And now I get to turn the podium back over to my friend, President Steve Benish, who's going to honor the State Bar of Texas Pro Bono and Legal Services Award recipients and the Law Focused Education Award recipients. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the meeting.
And I think there's one more local bar association that received the Stars of Texas Bars Award. I know this is going to be a vigorous response. The Houston Bar Association. Now it's time, let me put one set of notes down and grab another, if I may. Now it's time for the Pro Bono Awards. Every year, the State Bar of Texas honors attorneys who go above and beyond to achieve access to justice for low-income Texans. I'm honored to recognize the dedicated individuals, the law firms, and the legal services organizations of this year's State Bar of Texas Pro Bono and Legal Services Awards. As I read the winners' names, please stand to be recognized, and then winners will receive their awards and take photos after the luncheon. You can come up here and receive those awards and take some photo opportunities after the luncheon. First of all, the Frank J. Skurlock Award honors an attorney for outstanding pro bono work, and this year's award goes to Christina Yarnell of Austin. The J. Chris Doherty Legal Services Award recognizes an outstanding legal services staff attorney. This year's recipient is Ricardo Loza of San Antonio. The W. Frank Newton Award recognizes the pro bono efforts of attorney groups whose members have made outstanding contributions toward increasing access to legal services for the poor. This year, the award goes to the law firm of Hunton Andrews Kurth in Dallas, Texas. The Pro Bono Award recognizes a voluntary attorney organization that has made outstanding contributions to guarantee that all Texans have access to the legal system. This year's award goes to the Mexican American Bar Association, MABA, of Houston. The Pro Bono Coordinator Award honors an individual for exceptional contribution to improve legal services for the poor while serving as the Pro Bono Coordinator for a legal entity. This year's recipient is Brittany Crone of Houston. The Pro Bono Support Staff Award recognizes the invaluable contributions of non-attorney volunteers. Its purpose is to promote awareness of pro bono activities that non-attorneys can participate in and to encourage non-attorneys who work in the legal profession to volunteer their time and specialty skills to pro bono projects in their communities. This year's recipient is Robert M. Kane of Houston. The Warren Burnett Award, I almost said Warren Buffett Award. The Warren Burnett Award is named for the late legendary Texas attorney Warren Burnett and recognizes extraordinary contributions to improving the quality of criminal legal representation to indigent Texans. The award honors either an individual or an organization for their work in the courtroom, legislature, or public sphere. This year's recipient is the Office of Capital and Forensic Writs in Austin. The Judge Merrill Hartman Pro Bono Judge Award honors a judge, either sitting or retired, who has provided exemplary pro bono service. This may include outreach to attorneys to increase the quantity and quality of pro bono representation, modifications to court processes to increase access to justice, advocacy on behalf of access to justice, or service as a volunteer judge for pro bono clinics or other pro bono proceedings. The award is named after the late Judge Merrill Hartman of Dallas, a tireless advocate for low-income communities' access to justice. And this year's recipient is Judge Roy B. Ferguson of Houston. The Michael K. Moore Award is named after Dr. Michael K. Moore for his pivotal role in several research and writing efforts that had a major effect on indigent defense in the state of Texas. The award is presented to an individual, including private citizens and members of the bar, or an organization in recognition of exceptional research or writing that deals with indigent criminal defense and that represents a significant contribution to the knowledge and practices of the bench, bar, and scholarly communities. This year's recipient is the Public Policy Research Institute at Texas A&M University at College Station. I married someone who attended Texas A&M, and I know always wait for the whoop. We honor these dedicated leaders today. They set an example of what we can all do in our communities, and we are so appreciative of their work. Now I'd like to spend some time presenting the Law-Focused Education Awards. One of the best things about being an attorney is the opportunity to help others in a capacity that only those in the legal field are uniquely equipped to perform. This includes educating our elementary, middle, and high school students about the legal system. Every year, attorneys work to kindle interest in the law among our youth through law-related education. And it is an honor today to acknowledge some of the most dedicated among us. As I read the Law-Focused Education Award recipients, please stand to be recognized. As I mentioned before, winners will receive their awards and take photos after the lunch program concludes up here. The State Bar of Texas established the Nancy L. Garms Memorial Award in 1995 to honor an attorney or judge who emulates tireless service to the State Bar of Texas law-focused education programs. This year's recipient is Dana Huffman of Richardson. The honorary Leon Jaworski Award for Teaching Excellence recognizes an individual in the field of education or law who has made an outstanding contribution to law-focused education by promoting and encouraging effective law-focused education programs in their schools or communities. This year, the award goes to Alan Keith Haynes of San Antonio. Congratulations to all of our award recipients. We are grateful for your service to the profession and to the people of Texas. And now at this time, I'd like to invite annual meeting committee co-chair Lamont Jefferson to the stage. Please welcome him.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see everyone. Before I introduce our keynote speaker, I'd like to take a moment of silence to honor the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Sheila Jackson Lee was a Houston lawyer who represented Texas' 18th Congressional District from 1995 until her death in 2024. Among her many notable accomplishments From 1992 to 1993, she served as the inaugural chair of the State Bar of Texas African American Lawyers Section, which has been indelibly marked by her leadership. And her legacy is particularly relevant today on Juneteenth, National Independence Day. Starting in 2013, Sheila Jackson Lee introduced resolutions each year to make Juneteenth a federal holiday before finally succeeding with legislation in 2021. And we enjoy the fruits of those efforts today. And so, in honor of Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. One other quick introduction before I introduce you to our speaker. The reason why you can hear me and see me is because of the audiovisual in the room that has been expertly set up by a company called Freeman. As a matter of pure coincidence, maybe not at least a surprise to me, Freeman has staffed with experts in the field, and then they do shows around the world setting up these kinds of presentations. Well, it so happens that my son works for Freeman, and guess what program he's working on today? So please let me take a point of personal privilege to introduce you to my son, John Austin Jefferson, the Freeman AV project manager. So it's my honor, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce today's keynote speaker on this very meaningful day, Juneteenth, a day that commemorates freedom, resilience, and the ongoing pursuit of justice. Today, I have the distinct privilege, and I'll be honest, the lifelong privilege, lifelong bragging rights of introducing my brother, the former Chief Justice of the Texas Supreme Court, Wallace Jefferson, who is younger than me by 4.5 years, yet somehow manages to act like he's the older sibling. But I've got conclusive photographic evidence otherwise. Growing up, I had the usual big sibling duties, setting a good example, making sure Wallace didn't torment our younger sister Leah too much, and pretending not to be too impressed when he started beating me at debate. Today, I'm proud to say that Wallace has become an exceptional appellate advocate in such high demand that my clients can rarely afford to retain him, yet at the same time uses his voice to advance justice at all levels for free. I've seen firsthand how much Wallace volunteers and how deeply he cares about making the law work for people, not just on paper, but in real life. Juneteenth is a day not only to reflect, but to inspire. In this day and time, we need voices that not only reckon with the past, but also give us reason to be hopeful about the future. I believe that's the message that we will all hear from him today. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming my brilliant, relentless, and occasionally mischievous little brother, Wallace B. Jefferson.
Thank you, Lamont, for that unique introduction, and thank you for the photograph. And it is a pleasure to be here on Juneteenth. I wanted to start my remarks giving my experience in the nation's capital some years ago. It's when I visited Washington, D.C. for the first time in 1996. the Supreme Court of the United States had granted the first cert petition I had ever filed. And so at age 33, I stood behind the same lectern where Thurgood Marshall argued Brown v. Board of Education. And my case was, in many intriguing ways, the mirror image of Brown versus Board. My case was styled Board of County Commissioners versus Brown, Board v. Brown. And I was defending a southern county against a claim of police brutality after a high-speed pursuit. And of course, Thurgood Marshall's Brown v. Board fought to end racial segregation in public schools. Both of these cases provoked excruciating national debates. Brown versus Board followed decades of official racial segregation in which generations of American citizens were denied the equal protection of the laws. Board versus Brown, my case, came after the Los Angeles riots, when police officers were acquitted on charges that they had brutalized Rodney King after a traffic stop. The reverberations from post-Civil War America, they stay with us. Now, I graduated here in San Antonio from a high school named after the first Chief Justice, John Jay. And John Jay was a perennial rival of San Antonio's John Marshall. Who cares about the rule of law, really, in these high school fights? I attended James Madison College at Michigan State University, and I bear the name of our third president. And I even stayed at the Jefferson Hotel the night before the argument. All of these coincidences came to mind when I argued that morning. Little did I know that in less than 5 years, I, like Thurgood Marshall, did at a much larger scale, break a color barrier at a high court. Chief Justice Rehnquist called the case. Justice Ginsburg asked the first question. Justices Breyer and Thomas were chatting together frequently on the bench, and I was prepared for Justice O'Connor's question. Justice Souter's intellect was overpowering. Justice Scalia urged me to give no quarter to the other side. Stevens and Kennedy were fully engaged. It was a thrilling day. And that day was also historic. I argued my case on November 5th, the same day Bill Clinton would win re-election. And I had no doubt that the presidential transition would be peaceful, as it always had been. And that's how I felt about the argument. The decision would be close, but no matter the outcome, the parties would accept the court's judgment. That evening, I climbed the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, and I marveled at the words that were inscribed in stone, that our nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, part of the Gettysburg Address. Now that was a North Star, aspirational but divine. And Lincoln knew that the work was unfinished, and so did my parents and theirs and so on. And it remains that way today, the unfinished work of our great union. The photo that you will see on the screen was taken in Palestine, Texas, some 45 years after June 19, 1865, when General Granger delivered Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation to a rapt Galveston audience. Now look at the little girl on the far left. That is my dad's mom, Johnnie Mae Williamson. Her father, Samuel, in the picture, built the home that still stands today in Palestine on Colstead Avenue. Now, the family's dignified bearing underscores an amazing transformation after the Civil War. Born just after it ended, Samuel and Mary Ollie, the parents in this photograph, and their family, they prospered, relatively speaking, in Palestine. Samuel's brother, Matthew, was a dentist and graduate of Meharry Medical College in Tennessee. His brother Mark was a preacher. John was a lawyer. John got his law degree at Howard University and became trustee of the Farmers and Citizens Savings Bank. And Samuel, the father, was a postal worker. He had a route in which some white families refused the mail service to be delivered from a black postal worker. And Samuel's boss said, well, if that's the case, you come pick it up yourself at the post office. Now, all of them had attended college at Bishop College in Marshall, Texas. My great-grandmother, who's also in the photo, Mary Ollie, was from Waco. Her father owned real estate throughout McLennan County. And Mary Ollie's cousin, W.S. Willis, graduated from Howard University, receiving his master's at Columbia University, and was the first African-American tenured professor at Southern Methodist University. So think about it. Bishop, Meharry, Howard, these historically black institutions understood the extraordinary power of education. Former slaves and their offspring could now enlist the written word, explore the marvels of science, enjoy the fruits of their own labor, and perfect the Union. Today we celebrate Juneteenth. In 1865, the Freedom's announcement trickled down after Lincoln's 1863 Emancipation Proclamation. But what was the fate of those souls whose liberation released them into an uninviting world? I will take just a few minutes to open a window into one person's journey, which, to my mind, describes the promise of America. It is the story of an inheritance of hope. During my first year at the University of Texas School of Law, my father and I paid a visit to the State Archives and Library building in Austin, which is the repository of many Texas stories. And it is there we discovered a book chronicling McLennan County's obituaries. We found a 1903 entry for Shedrick Willis, who was Mary Ollie's grandfather. The obituary's headline read, quote, "Shed Willis, well-known Negro, dies at age 86. And then came the alarming revelation. Before the Civil War, Willis belonged to Judge N.W. Battle. Shedrick Willis was my great-great-great-grandfather. Nicholas Battle, a prominent member of the Waco Bar, was McLennan County District Attorney in 1854 and District Judge in 1858. So this announcement was a jarring and surprisingly emotional moment. For the first time, we learned that our ancestors had been, quote, owned. They were property in the eyes of the law. But then, as we learned more about Shedrick Willis, we were also inspired. Born in Virginia in 1818, Shedrick Willis was first acquired by the Battle family in the state of Georgia. Nicholas Battle brought Willis to Waco in 1850. And Willis was described by the Dallas Morning News as the pioneer blacksmith of his race in Central Texas. And in 1859, he was conscripted to shoe Governor Sam Houston's steed. Now, of course, this is the same Sam Houston, former president of the Republic of Texas, whose family Bible I used to swear in governors and judges when I served as Chief Justice. And in an exquisite twist of fate, Sam Houston's great-great-great-granddaughter, Marcy Hogan Greer, is my law partner today. Sam Houston, President of the Republic of Texas, Senator, and Governor of Texas, was a lawyer. He deeply believed in preserving the Union and warned that secession would bring ruin. And when Texas voted to secede, Sam Houston refused to swear allegiance to the Confederate States. For that profile and courage, he was removed from office. It is no surprise to me that Marcy descends from a family line of such courage and conviction. And Judge Battle was an interesting figure in his own right. He graduated in 1842 with a law degree from the College of William and Mary. And I have explored its archives in Williamsburg, Virginia, and paged through the registrar's materials. There you see a list of many prominent Confederate generals, and you also see a conspicuous gap in admissions during the Civil War years. The materials also reveal Battle's professors in the early 1840s, one of whom wrote an influential essay on slavery and surely lectured Battle about the merits of that particular institution. Here is an excerpt from that 1833 essay in which Professor Thomas R. Dew defended slavery. Quote, "In the debates on abolition in the Virginia legislature, no speaker insinuated even that the slaves in Virginia were not treated kindly, and all, too, agree that they were most abundantly fed, and we have no doubt but that they form the happiest portion of our society. A merrier being does not exist on the face of the globe than the Negro slave of the United States. Why then, since the slave is happy, and happiness is the great object of all animate creation, should we endeavor to disturb his contentment by infusing into his mind a vain and indefinite desire for liberty, something which he cannot comprehend and which must inevitably dry up the very source of his happiness?" Now, these were the themes of that era in the years immediately preceding the Civil War. And those themes were also evident in the Illinois senators' arguments during the Lincoln-Douglas debates. But Lincoln, great lawyer that he was, provided a strong rebuttal. But slavery is good for some people? As a good thing, slavery is strikingly peculiar. It is the only good thing which no man ever seeks the good of for himself. Nonsense, he said. Wolves devouring lambs, not because it is good for their own greedy maws, but because it is good for the lambs. These were the debates roiling when the Civil War commenced. And the professor's influence on his former student was surely one of the reasons Judge Battle joined the Confederacy, serving as a colonel under General Samuel Bell Maxey. He fought for his strong convictions. But here's where I think we can learn a lesson in America in today's times. After the Union prevailed, Judge Battle was determined to build a new society. And Shedrick Willis, now free, was able to turn to his blacksmith craft, this time keeping the money that his labor earned. You will see again on the screen an advertisement of his services in which he promised all work would be, quote, executed promptly and in a first-class manner. And I may have just found the tagline for my appellate practice. The period following the Civil War was marred by violence in the South, as we all know. Public officials disregarded the law, oppressed and killed former slaves. But Judge Battle, whom Governor Koch appointed as judge again, he would have none of that. Nicholas Battle announced in front of his fellow Confederate veterans and the bar and his community that he would follow his oath to a Constitution that now guaranteed freedom from slavery and secured the right to vote. And anyone still fighting this lost battle was a traitor to that new and glorious cause. Judge Battle passionately denounced the violence. Quote, "They, the leaders of mobocracy, they would make a Jeffries of me. Jeffries was a derogatory term used in that period against Southern poor whites. Judge Battle said they would transform the courts of a peaceful state into the bloody assizes of 2 centuries ago. But I defy their threats on the one hand and scorn their blandishments on the other, as I despise the cowards who do their beck and bidding. Now, this is a former Confederate soldier who was fighting for the institution of slavery, and after the Civil War was determined, he decided to strengthen his community. Those were strong words. Battle's stance was a direct rejection of the insurrectionist elements, and he had the gravitas to make it count. Willis, on the other hand, had little in the way of, orthodox influence anyway. He was uneducated. His signature was a lowly X. He had no financial heft. The threats and blandishments facing the newly freed slaves were menacing. Still, Shedrick Willis took full advantage of his new citizenship. He not only earned a living as blacksmith, but he served on the Waco City Council for 2 terms after the Civil War. And you have to think to yourself, how is this even possible or imaginable to be private property before the war and just a few years later a public servant crafting ordinances that would govern everyone, former Confederates and liberated citizens alike? And Willis's ascent to the council was not the product of military force. He served because he had the support, the encouragement, and the endorsement of Judge Battle, his former master. So the judge not only enforced the newly amended Constitution in his court and to his community, but he encouraged those in power to entrust formerly enslaved people to be leaders. Once they were master and servant, but these two would later become colleagues when Shedrick City Council appointed Battle as Waco City Attorney in 1870. Not 5 years after the war, these two now co-equals guided the city into a new era. We live today in times of intense conflict and distrust. Yet, in these 2 men, we have examples of the promise of America. We willingly subject ourselves to lawful order, even when we disagree. We must participate fully in our democracy. We renounce violence, and we celebrate our country's new birth of freedom. This is how the great-great-grandson of a slave owned by a judge became Chief Justice of Texas. And it is us, all of us as lawyers, we remain the guardians of this profound experiment in human liberty. Our ancestors left us a priceless inheritance: fortitude, dignity, the conviction that our country can survive even the most gut-wrenching challenges and emerge stronger for it. And we owe them. We owe complicated heroes like Judge Battle, Sam Houston, and Shedrick Willis. We must, and I believe we will, use our law licenses to repel attacks on the rule of law, and we must never flinch from our unfinished work. Now, by the way, I won the case in the Supreme Court. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman ever to serve, wrote the opinion. When students at San Antonio's Wallace B. Jefferson Middle School graduate, their next stop is the Sandra Day O'Connor High School. Not so long ago, the United States would have denied the Jeffersons and O'Connors of the world the opportunity to serve. Not today. And this is why I will not allow today's unrest to detract from my faith in America. We should never forget how far we have come, and we must never retreat from the fight to preserve our freedoms. Happy Juneteenth, and thank you. Thank you.
Wallace, thank you very much. I predicted a hopeful speech, and sure enough, that was outstanding. So, well done, well done. I taught him everything he knows. So, thank you all for being here. It's been a great program, and a reminder that all you reward winners, please come to the front for the photograph immediately after we adjourn, and we are now adjourned. Thank you very much.